I feel tired but hyper. I definitely have the adrenaline rush right now, so hence my smile. I love coming to boxing because it's the most mindless place for me. It makes me feel like I don't have to think about anything else and be super present.
Welcome to Move, Sweat, Discover, the podcast where fitness meets self-discovery. My name is Abby, and today we have the delightful Amy Tsien, the founder and CEO of Eve Bliss, a functional wellness brand launched in 2022. So the brand is created to target three essential pillars in our daily life, which is what's on the website: physical health, mental well-being, and community. Its core product is the Eve Bliss beverages. So there's a functional recovery soda, and there's even Eve Spirits, which has all the same benefits as the recovery soda, with a splash of alcohol. Amy is a retail industry veteran with a wealth of experience across fashion, beauty, and wellness. A warm welcome to you, Amy. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Abby. Thanks for having me.
So I'm going to start things off a little differently. We're not going to talk about our workout. We're not going to talk about your journey just yet. We're going to do a little toast. All right. So I have some Eve Bliss sodas. So cheers, Tien. Yeah.
Cheers.
It's a little sip. Which one is this?
Soda. It's a recovery soda.
Okay. And what are the ingredients? It's very
It is as
orange.
Yes, it's very orange and yellow. It's turmeric. It's one of our key ingredients.
Yeah.
And then it has B6 and B12 vitamins, which are some of my favorite ingredients in there because they're the happy vitamins.
Yeah.
And electrolytes. Yeah, that's the main functional ingredients with a splash of pear juice.
Okay. Oh, pear juice. Interesting. Okay. I can kind of like taste the little hints of that. All right. Let's go back to the beginning. Amy, who are you? Where do you come from?
I was born in the States.
Yeah.
And then I lived across US, Hong Kong, and UK so far.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much safe to say that I'm a city girl.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been, before Eve Bliss, I've been in fashion for a little bit as a merchant. I was in the beauty sector for a little bit, also as a merchant.
Yeah.
And then I had an experience in a wellness startup as well right before Eve Bliss. Probably, yeah, it was the longest job I had right before.
Okay. And how important to you through all the iterations of Amy Tsien was wellness? How important was that to you?
Very important. I think wellness, or actually well-being, health in general, is the basics of everything.
Yeah.
Without it, we won't be alive. Living happily, spend time with people, building a brand, doing podcasts. So I think it's very, very essential.
So what were some of the ways that you practice wellness and well-being growing up?
So a lot. I've always been very interested in what I put in my body in terms of food.
Yeah.
So very gratefully, I think I've always not been very into junk food and snacks.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
Even as a kid?
Yes, I was a strange kid. So my mom actually used to really like chocolates.
Yeah.
So as a new mom, she was like, oh, I got to give her the best thing. And she actually fed me chocolates. I was, I think, 2, maybe 3.
Okay.
Apparently I spat it out. Didn't like it.
Wow.
Yeah. And till this day, apart from certain moments, I still don't really eat I don't really have a sweet tooth.
Okay.
And then people like so different Coke or other sodas. Growing up, I also never really liked them.
Yeah.
Just that kind of more artificial tasting thing was never really part of me.
Okay.
So I was I was a bit of a strange kid.
No, I mean, that's great. That's a great kind of way to start.
I was very lucky in that
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. So I think that's the eating part for me. Well-being in terms of, for example, exercise, which I'm sure we'll talk more about.
Yeah.
I was not at all an athletic kid.
Okay.
I dread PE classes. I was definitely one of those kids that tried to make up excuses. I have tummy aches today. I have a headache next time. When people play basketball, when they throw the ball at me, I dodge because I'm that's a normal thing to do. When someone throws something at you, you dodge.
Yeah, so that was me as a kid. But I think it was really because now to come to think of it, when, exercising becomes such a big part of my life. I think back then, just a kid think, oh, playing football or playing basketball or, those kind of things are the only forms of exercise. I don't think, walking or hiking could be it,
Yeah.
I didn't think like boxing was never even in my vocabulary when I was a kid. That was
Yeah.
a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
So I think back then I just wasn't exposed to it. And now I've found actually there are other things that are also exercising.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are some of the parts of my well-being journey.
Yeah, I had a similar kind of experience as you with exercise growing up, in that like I was never exposed to anything other than like what you do in PE, like I don't know what, like running up and down, or
Yeah.
just like these days. And I know the school that I went to, they had this beautiful massive gym with like all the equipment that you would find in like a gym that you and I would go to, kind of thing. And they do boxing, they do Pilates, they do yoga, they do everything.
Yeah.
But I also remember in school, and this is one of the reasons why I became a trainer, was that I was bullied a fair bit, and I was also excluded a lot because I guess of like my size. Like I was a little bit smaller, maybe I was a little bit more effeminate, and they would line you up, and then they would pick like someone to be in charge of the teams, and I would always get picked last, and then like go, like that walk from like that line to the next team, it's like the walk of shame kind of thing. I read in preparation for our chat today that you also had a similar experience, like growing up, that you were bullied. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. I was bullied in multiple sectors of my life or sections of my life. First time was when I was kindergarten.
Okay.
I think I've actually never spoken about this before, but so I was, I think, 4. Really want to be friends with this group of girls. They're kind of like the cool girls in kindergarten.
Okay. The cool girls in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
They were definitely like, they were like this little group, little posse, and like everybody kind of step aside when they walk past.
Okay.
Again, we were 4. But at that age, you just really want to be friends with like the same gender.
Yes.
And then I've always gone on with guys. That was fine. But then I was like, I just really want to be friends with these girls. So I asked them, I was like, can I be friends with you guys? And they said, sure. But you have to kind of be our slave for a little bit to prove yourself. I don't remember exactly if slave was the right word, but basically that.
Yeah.
And what I had to do was I have to like go fetch like, coloring paper for them.
Okay.
Or I would do their like art projects for them. Or we would all do our own projects and I swap my final piece with them. What else? Oh, there was one time they said, if you're cool, you don't go through the tunnels in the playground, you walk above it. And I actually have a fear of like falling. So if I stand on like this table, for instance, I would shiver.
Okay.
But because I really want to be friends with them, I'm also an only child. So I'm like, oh, these are like, the sisters that I would have.
Yeah.
And so I couraged up, climbed up to on top of the tunnel. And these tunnels have little holes. I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about. Like it's like a tunnel and there's like another box where it's like a little hole and then you like kind of crawl through.
Yeah, yeah.
And basically when I got to that part, they pushed me down.
Okay.
And it was a test. The test was, then the teacher was like, are you okay? Like, did anyone push you? And I literally remember till this day, they looked at me, they were like, better not say anything. And I was like, I just fell. And then I became kind of a friend, like the last one in their group, but I'm in the group. That was tough. So that was my first time. Fast forward, sorry, that was a very long answer. But fast forward then, when I was 8, I got bullied again. There was this girl who was like, if anyone's friends with Amy, like, you would have a really tough life. So my best friends wouldn't talk to me. They would only we'll have phone calls when we get home, but we have to pretend that we're not friends. And then later on, fast forward when I was 15, 15. I was school abroad. It's very different from the school I was in because I went to local school. It's all about modesty, no makeup, like very modest clothing. You get there, everyone knew what makeup was already, at a young age. And I just didn't look as cool. My English wasn't as good as everyone else's. And yeah, and I had people following me around. asking me, why are you eating this? Why are you not eating that? Like, are you anorexic? Are you bulimic? Like, just random comments because I was skinnier, Asian kid going abroad at that age. I was pretty skinny, and they were like, oh, something's wrong with you. I also had a time when I got back to my room. My room was raided because I have a possession of drugs. It was Panadol from my mom because, again, growing up in Hong Kong, mothers always give you some kind of medicine just in case you have tummy aches or headaches or something. Anyway, so because someone said I had that, and then the teacher then had the permission to basically raid my area. So things like that. It was pretty tough. It wasn't easy, but it built my character, I guess, to be stronger.
Yeah. What ways has that impacted you?
A lot. I think when I used to be asked these questions, one of the things I've always said, which is true, is I'm pretty resilient.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to be in difficult situations or challenges because I always tell myself, you got through that. It's not going to be that tough. You can do it. So that's, and a very strong face, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that was always my answer, and it's still true. But one thing I've recently discovered, I think what it has impacted me as well, is that I have always want people to like me
Okay.
because I was disliked. I have always kind of had that tendency to be like, I don't want to be in that situation again. And I actually didn't realize until very recently when I'm like, oh, my confidence level is not that high, and I do people please, and hence I get stress, and then putting myself in situations that I don't have to be part of. So I think it's two different impacts.
But you come across very open and energetic. Would you say that you're an extrovert?
Yes.
Okay.
I love people.
Yeah.
I think especially going back to growing up as an only child,
Yeah.
I think, it sounds a bit cheesy, but I genuinely believe I hope everyone's like my brothers and sisters, and everybody can be friends. And I think people are fascinating. Obviously we're not doing a podcast every day, but I love just doing one-on-ones with people, getting to know them, their story. I think everyone is very inspiring. Yeah.
So was that obviously something that kind of encouraged you to build community around as one of the pillars of your company?
Definitely. I think that's one part of it. Another part is also the accountability. I think that's huge for me. I think everyone wants to be healthier. Everyone wants a bit of wellness in them, but sometimes it's difficult to do it alone. Small things like choosing a healthier beverage or starting yoga or starting some kind of health routine. If you just do it with one other person, 3 other people, 5 other people, having that group, I think it just strengthen whatever desires that you have to do what you wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
So I think that's why community is a huge part of it too.
What do you think of because it's a topic that I'm endlessly fascinated with, community. It's such a buzzword at the moment, What do you think about what do you think when you see or hear or see it in an ad or hear it in social media, like communications, what springs to mind for you?
Definitely it's a buzzword these days. I agree. And actually recently I had this question to myself as well. And I think one thing that even me in the midst of building the brand sometimes forget, and now I'm pulling myself back, it's community. It's not just a group of people sitting together. It's everyone having the same belief or a goal to achieve something together. And I think sometimes when I see in an ad or brands kind of forget that. And sometimes in the midst of me hosting this big event, bringing people running together, I sometimes forget to, and I actually reminded myself, hey, remember why you're bringing the people together. Talk to them. What are something that they want to achieve? Why did they come today? And I think there is a common ground there, but sometimes people forget to address it. And what ends up happening is we bring people together. They don't really know why they're there. They're kind of just doing something together and forgot the key part of what community really means.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that you bring up a really good point, is that people forget why they're there. And sometimes I think that some brands or, with some events, the purpose gets lost. Yeah. Let's stay on purpose. What was your purpose in creating your brand?
Yeah, and so I feel like my answers are always so long to you.
No, please. We're
But-
here to talk.
Yeah. It's again, I've been doing a lot of self-exercise. So again, it's a question I think everyone should constantly ask themselves the purpose of like their whys,
Mhm.
right? And I want to be very transparent on this podcast about like my purpose
Yeah.
when I started that drink, when I started the brand. Honestly, it was during COVID. I was sitting there, I was really stressed with, I had a full-time job at the time, really stressed. I'm like stuck in the house and I want to have a drink, like an alcoholic drink.
Okay.
And it's like 11 a.m. Can't drink because like I'm still doing a lot of work, hence my stress. But I remember texting someone, I don't remember who exactly, but I remember texting someone and be like, oh my gosh, I can use a drink right now. How is it only 11 a.m.?
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Like, I was like, I wish. But then I was like thinking, looking into my fridge, and I was like, what is in there? Like water. There is alcohol in there. Not much. And coffee. I can make coffee. But I don't want more caffeine because I'm already stressed. I do feel like excessive amount of caffeine stresses you out more, like gives you that like jittery feeling, right? So then I'm like, okay, there's absolutely nothing that I can drink right now to make myself feel better. I can go for a walk, but then it's COVID, so I can't really like be walking around or like meeting people. I can't call people in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So I started thinking, what is something I can drink that I can drink during the day to stress relief a little bit, to, feel better, to give myself a little bit of like a boost that is healthy in the long run and in the short run. And that was when I started doing all the research, which is why I guess backtrack to when you asked me what's in the drink. Apart from the turmeric, as I've mentioned, my favorite vitamins are the B6 and 12 because they are like something that boosts your serotonin naturally, right? That was kind of how I started it. And in terms of the purpose, I wanted to create an option. I want to create an option something that makes me feel better when I'm not out or when I'm not doing exercise, when I can't immediately find a friend.
Yeah.
I just wanted that option for people. So that was kind of, the purpose when I first started it. And of course now like it has grown to, okay, there are other people who are also looking for these drinks. And there are other people who are like, hey, actually like, again, starting from whether it is I want to live a healthier life, I want to start yoga, I want to start drinking less, I want to start, going to a wellness festival instead of like a purely music party festival. All these things, then I'm like, okay, there are different people out there who are looking for these options. I want to be part of it. I want to bring these people together. So I guess that's like the larger purpose. But being very genuine and absolutely honest when I started it, didn't think it was going to be someday that I would talk about it on a podcast. Didn't think, still small, but I didn't even think of that. I didn't think. I started the brand calling Eve instead of Eve Bliss because I thought Eve, it's like like a celebration kind of time, like a cheers, it's easy to remember. But then I didn't even think, actually like on SEO, it's going to be very difficult because there are a lot of people call Eve. So I didn't think that far when I first started it. Okay. It was a simple purpose, something that I felt like I needed, I couldn't find. I could see other people needing it, couldn't find. Yeah.
And so with the Eve Spritz, you said that you kind of started looking in your fridge for something alcoholic to drink. Was that how you kind of created? Was the plan to kind of segue into that, or?
No. So Eve Spritz actually came about after the soda was like born for quite a while. And one of the very common questions people ask me, can I mix my soda with my gin? Or like, what is it a good mixer? So then I was like, okay, let me look into this because I didn't mix it with gin or anything at the time, just kind of a drink that I want to drink anytime.
Yeah.
And later on, we started having like some like cocktail events or like, bringing people together, trying the drink. And then we started having one of the few cocktails that we mix Eve in with sparkling wine, kind of like Aperol Spritz, but Eve Spritz. And that one people really liked and they were like, can I buy this? I'm like, no, you cannot. But I was like, it's interesting that you want to buy it. And then a few people start asking.
Okay.
And then I actually went to 2 houses to be the unofficial mixologist to be mixing these drinks for people because I'm like, the more people get to try my soda, the better.
Yeah.
So I volunteered, kind of, also asked to be doing these jars and jars of Eve Spritz.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm like, you know what? Why don't I make a limited edition of Eve Spritz? So even when it was created, it was always a lot more soda, you know, in terms of like our production volume compared to Eve Spritz.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a funny story. So I think I'd probably gone to one of these events and, you know, the goodie bag, whatever, was a little can of Eve Spritz. And I, with a lot of events that I go to, I just put the goodie bag somewhere, shoved the can in my fridge. And I think I'd, you know, a few weeks later or whenever it was, I'd gone for a workout, come home, opened my fridge and was like, I'm thirsty. And I was like, ooh, yes, Eve, it's a functional recovery soda, whatever. And I downed it. And then I was like, this tastes different. And then realized that it was Eve Spritz. And I was like, oh, right, there's a little bit of alcohol in here. So that was my first experience of Eve Spritz. It was very interesting.
I hope you don't have like a meeting to go to.
No, it was like after a workout or whatever in the evening time. But
so you can just relax on.
Yeah. What would you say to those critics who are questioning, you know, recovery and alcohol? How do you put those two things together and still have the benefits?
So the whole brand of Eve Bliss, we always say one thing is small steps for people. So in terms of the drinks part, not everyone want to like cut out alcohol immediately, to be honest. I know most people nowadays, especially, we're all either you are in the movement of, you know, sober curious, which is great, or like myself and some of my friends who are like at this age, I kind of want to drink a bit less. And also I don't want to waste my time as much. I want to be more intentional with my time.
Yeah.
And I would, you know, go towards a soda. But for some people, it's like, I'm curious, but I still want to drink. And I want a stepping stone for these people to be like, instead of, okay, like either I'm going to do Eve soda or any other non-alcoholic beverages, or I'm going to go do a vodka shot or a tequila shot. There's no middle ground, right? So apart from just low ABV, I'm like, if you're going to drink, I can't stop you. But I want to provide a drink that still has some benefits to it as you're drinking. You're still hydrating yourself. And people are like, oh, it's just like cancel out. Well, better than just negative, right? So that's why I don't think it has to be mutually exclusive. I think a lot of people still go out there and have fun, have a good time. And also, you know, are very serious about their own health journey at the same time. Like they are trying to eat healthier. They are trying to do their workouts. Why are we excluding those people who are taking small steps? You know, so I don't think it's contradicting. I think it's providing, you know, small steps and, you know, for people to get there.
Yeah.
So with your brand, how do you, I mean, there's a lot of products similar out there. How do you stay in your lane? Because now these days I see a lot of stuff on Instagram where one brand will pretty blatantly bring another, like compare themselves and bring another brand down and be like, ours is this and ours is that. This one is not. This one is not. Yeah. How can you speak on that to me?
I mean, on that note, I personally am actually quite against brands doing that. I feel like it's I don't know if there's a better word, but I feel it's quite low to hit your competitor or whatnot. You know, in the end, we're all just trying to do good. I think it's
I agree.
like dirty.
I also just think like, how is that legally possible? You know? I don't really know.
I personally really don't like that. So that's one thing. To answer your question, how do I stay different? I mean, number one, like I think there are a lot of great products out there. There are especially many in the functional soda part. A lot is gut health focused.
Yes.
A lot of prebiotics, probiotics, which are very good and important. Ours don't have that in our drink at the moment. There are people who be like, oh, like, why don't you do that? Because a lot of, you know, that seems like a big thing. But I'm like, someone else is already doing it. It's okay. Like, I don't need my consumer to be like, hey, we have that too. They have that too. Like choose, right? For me, it's like different. We're doing our own thing.
Yeah.
And flavor profile, it's different. I try my best to stay completely away from artificial flavoring because personally, when I taste artificial drinks, I have that gross aftertaste in my mouth. That is just not pleasant. And so we try to stay away from that. So there's one thing. Caffeine, there are people who like wants a bit of caffeine and, you know, after they work out. And so we also deliberately don't do that because I want people to not have that jittery feeling after. So every single ingredient that I choose to put in and not put in, it's very intentional. And I think that is enough for me right now to differentiate ourselves. And I'm not doing just what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
And I know that the person who chooses my drink will feel that. Yeah.
Let's stay on the brand a little bit longer. How did you decide to integrate the community aspect, the wellness aspect? You know, you do events, you have ambassadors. Sometimes the focus can be lost. How do you remain focused?
I ask myself the why. Very honestly, I definitely have felt that, you know, it's very easy to lose focus, like you said, and I've definitely had that kind of phase, going from meetings to meetings, events to events. I literally we have a chat that literally just types out all the events and things that are happening, or launches, and it is very easy to forget. And so I have actually, even in my bag right now, I didn't bring my laptop. I bring this notebook. Every time when I feel that I'm losing it, I don't know where the focus and why am I doing this? I have this just blank pieces of paper in the notebook, and then I start asking why. Why am I doing this? Just drawing it out and remind myself. I don't think there's like a magic way of doing it or formula to do it, but that's how I do it.
Okay.
And when I do this, I have absolutely no one around me. Just in my room, doing it facing the sun, because it gives me positive energy to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And just draw it out and write it out. And I do this exercise maybe every 2 days,
Okay.
if not almost every day now, to make sure I remember.
Yeah. I mean, knowing you just a really short while, you seem like somebody that does a lot of self-care and work on herself. Was this always the case?
No, definitely not. In terms of, let's use working out. I remember I did occasional yoga, which I've passed out at in the past in New York. That was when I started it. And then I was dating at the time, and I felt like, oh, you know, he works out so much. And then I start feeling not confident. And I look at like females around. I'm like, oh, like people are so curvy. I'm not. And then I start comparing myself a lot. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take this back into my own control. My body, my fitness, I can do it.
Yeah.
And this is with like someone with like no regular works out. I don't even know how to use the treadmill in the gym. And then I started looking at Groupon. This was in New York.
Oh, wow.
Because I just
okay, yeah.
Because I just started working, so I can't go to like personal training. And you know, back in the day, like studios weren't as big. Equinox was like the coolest thing, but like no chance I can afford it.
Yes.
So then I looked at Groupon and I was like, let's see what deals there are. And there were two things. There was boxing and pole dancing.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, they're different. So like, let's give it a try. It seems fun. Like something that's fun as well. Like I need to make sure whatever I'm doing, I feel that it's something fun to do. That's me personally, to motivate myself to keep going. And the studios were right next to each other, close-ish to where I used to live. And so I tried one class after the other. It was free trial first time. And then, I mean, pole dancing, I just wasn't that gifted, I must say. Boxing, I felt the pain right after. I could barely walk down the stairs, and I was like, it's quite cool though. Like, felt like I actually worked out. I love the energy inside. I love that kind of bit like just so different from how I normally am. I was in fashion at the time.
Yeah.
You know, everything is like design, quiet. And there you can like punch bags and, you know, you could be whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
People don't care. You can shout. I loved it. And so I signed that Groupon deal. It was a very good deal. It's very affordable. And that was when I started my journey. And I started every time when I feel insecure about my body, I tell myself, you know what? let's go work out.
Mm.
Yeah. So that was the start.
I want to talk about movement more in a little bit, but
Sure.
let's go back to something that you mentioned. You talked about like comparing yourself, which is something that I think speaks to a lot of people out there, myself included. I don't even want to know how much time scrolling on social media, thinking that that person's life is so great, mine is fine, but there's always that comparison point. Even in real life, when I look at somebody's career or relationship, sometimes I will fall into that habit. What is that relationship like for you, and how do you kind of stay grounded?
So for me, I know a lot of people actually struggle in terms of comparing themselves with Instagram people or social media people. For me, actually more so, it's people around me, friends. The funny thing is,
We talked about this actually off mic.
Yeah. And interestingly, like, because I love people at the same time. So that amount of stress, that's like, how do I celebrate someone's amazingness and success without feeling like, oh, I wish, I was that, or feeling very quiet and feel like, oh, everyone's talking about like finance, jobs, and being in a law firm, or like just finished a deal, these words. And I'm always like, I sold like 5 sodas today. I just always compare that. And I felt kind of, I don't know if ashamed is the right word, but just feel lesser off, as I've shared to you the other time.
Yeah.
And that kind of internal stress was uncomfortable. I'm always like, kind of hiding certain things, or be like, let's not talk about my brand as much, because I feel like, it's so small. And how I stay more grounded, and some exercise I've done, is I started a tracker for myself. Firstly, I had some away time, asked myself, hey, like, does this matter? What is your priority? Why did you start the brand? Was it to compare with these people?
Yeah.
What was your mission? Why did you do this? And all these different questions. And then eventually I've landed on what my core values are. What are my key priorities? Who are the people that I actually care about? And then backtrack. And then I started the tracker. The tracker is something that I write to myself. Okay, in order to not feel like I don't know what other people are talking about, I'm going to feed myself news every day of what's happening around the world every day, so I don't feel that way.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I spend 30 minutes every morning reading news. I've dedicated accounts that actually are from social media, so that they can give me the headliners, and then I click into the relevant articles each time. So I start reading these different accounts, and then what's happening in the news, what's happening in the world. I have a notebook, very old school. I have a notebook, just like in school when they force you to write down highlights of the week.
Yeah.
I start writing highlights of the day
Okay.
of the news.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm feeding myself cognitively. Makes me feel more confident. Makes me feel like I'm feeding myself. And then the second thing I do is the gratitude in the journal. I spend 20 minutes doing it every day, thinking about, like, always ask, what am I grateful for today? Every single day. So I start on like a more positive note and be like, it's okay. Like, I'm not doing deals, but I have a brand that I can use it, and I can still pivot each day too, because it's my brand, to do something good.
Yeah.
So that is something that, others don't have anyway. And it doesn't even matter if they have it or not. I have this, and I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah.
This is actually one of my gratitude today as well. Opportunities to learn. So more things that, I feel like I'm actively doing, and I'm so grateful that I get a chance to do it. And this actually kind of set me in a way that I'm appreciating things that I have. And for things I don't have, I'm feeding myself.
Yeah.
And then I started doing things that are, sometimes when you feel lesser off, it's also because hormonally, or your body is not in the right space. Sometimes our days are like more negative and like more blue. So what I do is each day I do something that contributes to my dose level. So for anyone who is not familiar with dose, it's my dopamine level, my oxytocin level, my serotonin level, and my endorphin level. Every day I try to do something that contributes to it. So hence, like, the sunlight, so I can get like my dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Or like hence the movement. If I don't have workout schedule, I don't have enough time, I go walk around. So I get some movement in and boost my own serotonin. I do see a huge difference when I contribute something to myself. I'm in a much happier place. I see things, in a more positive light, and I celebrate things that I have more. So that's some of the things that I do to boost my own confidence level.
I love it. Yeah, very nicely put. I guess it's all about like that self-love. It all kind of starts from there, right?
And it's really, just to add on, it's really actively doing something, not just telling yourself like, I love you, like Amy. It's not really just that. It's you have to do something about it. That's something I've learned as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Let's go to movement. What has your relationship with movement been over the years? You mentioned that you weren't always running around boxing and
Yeah. So as I've shared, so like I started, the boxing and whatnot, I think about 10 years ago. Before that, didn't even know how to use a treadmill. But I also went a bit extreme, actually. So, how I said, I wasn't a very confident person, trying to take it into my own hands to go work out every time I don't feel confident. But if you imagine, my confidence level is constantly low. I'm constantly working out. So to a point that I remember planking. And I'm like tearing. And I'm like, this is so hard. And then I'm like, you can do it. If you like pass this minute and a half, you can conquer the world kind of thing. Like I have these self-talks in me. Pretty extreme. But then, so there was definitely a period of time where like I went overboard and I like don't remember like, hey, you need to stretch after, relax after, don't overdo it. So kind of went from one extreme to another. And now I'm like, okay, let's do it more consistently. I work out like 3 times a week now. I do one of them, the 3 times, one of them includes yoga. So I also like stretch it out as well and not just push kind of mentality. Movement, as I've shared though, from beginning, whether I'm extreme, didn't know anything, or now, I think one thing is it's also like a mental boost for me, not just the physical side. It's making me feel like I'm doing this for me, firstly. And when I'm tired, I show up, to the class or the workout. I'm there. Because I've committed to myself, I'm going to do this for me. Maybe I'm going to be really tired after like 2 seconds of boxing, but I'm going to be there. And then I'm going to focus and I'm going to be present. So these things, it's even outside of movement, like outside of boxing, outside of my classes, I still remind myself that, in day to day. And so movement does mean a lot to me in that sense.
Yeah. So we did a boxing class, Muay Thai.
Yes.
We did Muay Thai. It was actually my second Muay Thai this month. I don't normally do Muay Thai. What were some things that you learned in the session that we did about yourself?
Number one is, as I've mentioned, normally I work out 3 times a week.
Yeah.
So that was my 4th.
I feel privileged.
And as you were there, I was like, okay, really got to show up because I'm not just showing up for myself, also showing up for Abby. I didn't realize I actually could do 4 times. Like I was alive after and I felt great the next day. And I have learned in a sense that this is the first time, I think I shared with you off mic that it's the first time inviting someone to my routine workout that is someone I just met as well. It's my very first time because normally that's like my personal space. So I definitely was a little bit nervous going in. But actually what I've learned about myself and also just overall in general is it really does break the ice because I'm like sweating. I'm like screaming. Sorry, because not screaming, but shouting and making noises that I normally don't. So like normal people will never see that side of me. And I'm like, well, you know what? He's seen that already. So what can be that bad? And it has that kind of bonding session. And I was very grateful that I trusted you and the process of, having you there. And it was true.
Yeah.
You bond over that.
Yeah. It's well, firstly, I'm grateful that you trusted me in your safe space, your me time as well. I do really have to agree with that. Um, I my boyfriend, the second time I ever met him, he came to a class of mine. No one that I've been interested in ever comes to any of my classes. You know, they'll just like roll their eyes or be like, yes, I'll come. Haha, never. You know, I was obviously the first time we met, I was attracted to him. And then the second time, he willingly came to my class. And, you know, there is something to be said about kind of like moving and sweating in a room with somebody. I mean, not that.
Yes. No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I really place such huge importance on that kind of synergy, I guess. And so I'm very, very, very grateful that you were open enough to do this, because we don't know each other. And so one of the things that I kind of took away from our time together working out is that you are damn strong.
Aw, thank you.
I mean, like I mentioned, I don't do Muay Thai very often, or you know, that was the second time probably out of like 4 or 5 times. And so like when I kicked the trainer, I was like, you would hear like a little boop. When you kicked the trainer, there was like pow, like explosions. So yeah, but that was my one takeaway. And then also I felt that you are very passionate about movement. Every movement that you made, every punch that you threw, every kick that you threw, even the plank, you were the one that was encouraging us to do the 2 minutes of planks at the end or whatever. Movement means a lot to you. Looking after yourself means a lot to you. And even without kind of having had this conversation off mic or even today, it's very obvious that like kind of taking care of yourself, taking care of your body and your mental like well-being is like up there for you, which I really respect and really admire. What were some of the things? This is our guest's favorite question every time. What are some of the things that you learned about me
I think
that I can't kick?
no. I think number one is actually there are 2 things I've noticed.
Lay it on me.
One is I remember you were like, I already had a class this morning as well. And I think you're being very humble. Like, I think the first time you were like getting used to like the movements and steps and things as the trainer was teaching. But very soon after, you were like really kicking as well. And then you said, what did you say? You said, let's do more, or like, let's get something harder. I'm like, whoa, I'm like really giving my 200% already. But I really admire that too. Like one of my personal mottos, like if you show up, you might as well give your 200%. You're there already.
Yes.
You're halfway then, you know, and you did it even right after you already had a workout. So, I mean, I was a little bit scared when you asked for that. I was like, maybe just for you.
Yeah.
No, but that's one thing I noticed. And number 2 is because we've never met. That was the first time we met. I've thought, oh, maybe like you have like a colder exterior initially. So I'm like, oh, like I wonder what this is going to be like. I think as soon as you start working out, like I could see you like taking it very seriously, and then you're like kind of starting to smile, and afterwards, like I don't know, it's like a very pleasant surprise, and it's like a warming energy.
Yes.
And that's something I've noticed.
Okay.
From you.
Thanks. I get that quite often, but it's only because I'm quite shy. Actually,
Same.
It's not obvious to people, you know, like I put myself out there on social media or whatever doing this podcast. But yeah, I'm an introvert actually. So you're an extrovert, I'm an introvert, but you wouldn't be able to tell, I don't think, like initially.
But similarly, people say that about me too, that I have an RBF, if it's okay to say it here.
Yeah.
So people always like smile. But what I've learned, which maybe you can use this too, is I tell myself it's so much better to look cold, but actually warm inside, then look warm and actually very cold inside. It does will
Yes,
always
like-
be like a
yeah.
pleasant surprise to people, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I need to work on my neutral face because every time when you're at an event and people pan over the camera and I look like the angriest person in the room.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I that resonates with me. So,
So I'm like trying to smile. Sometimes it ends up with an awkward smile.
yeah.
But yes.
You're full of inspiring little gems. What inspires you?
People. When I say people, I mean, people that I meet daily, not necessarily one specific person. When I open my YouTube, the feeds, the interviews of people that come up, I might have never heard of this person. I might have heard of this person, but never hear them speak.
Yeah.
I think everyone in there inspires me. Someone that's built something, or someone is a great mother, what she has sacrificed to have done.
Yeah.
Someone who was a singer or is a singer, I just think everyone's so inspiring. Yeah.
Are there any like females, women that particularly inspire you? This being International Women's Month, I guess.
I don't want to sound cliche, but I do think my mom is the one that inspires me the most. In a sense that my mom is never the very mummy type. Like, growing up in Hong Kong, for example, there are a lot of people who say, like, oh, son, like daughter. Like, she was never like that. She's pretty cool. She's always worked her whole life. And she has always made me think that people can do it all. She was a great mom. She was there when I failed my math test, and she was tutoring me. Well, I was like getting very angry. But also have a full-time job. And she just balanced it out. She's a great wife to my dad, great partner. She takes care of the house. The house is always very clean. While she has a 9 to 8, 9 job. Friends love her. She's beautiful. Yeah, she's who that inspired me. Side note, you guys can cut it out if you want to, but my mom actually broke her leg before too, when I was 6. And still then, she was doing it all, still taking care of me, still like throwing me birthday parties, still working. So she is very resilient in that sense. Yeah, so she does inspire me.
That's maybe also where you get your resilience from.
Yeah, she's very strong.
Yeah. Being a woman entrepreneur with her own brand in the wellness space. Talk to me about that.
But I think I love being an entrepreneur because I feel that every day I can try and use my brand to make a difference. Love that. Being a female in wellness space, when I just say that, if someone says, hey, Amy, what do you do? And if I say, I'm in wellness, I do feel that look, they're like, of course you're in wellness. Just like how back in the day, you're in fashion. People are like, of course you're in fashion. But wellness is actually such a broad term.
Yeah.
There is wellness if you are an amazing instructor, you're an amazing trainer. And firstly, even in workouts, there's yoga, HIIT, many different forms. Or you can be, I'm in wellness beverage, right? That is something very different. I do think people kind of box everyone in when people say wellness and have that kind of be like, oh, of course you are, like that kind of cliche. I do feel that sometimes. And some people think it's woo-woo when you say wellness.
Yeah.
But at this point, I don't feel too much. I am proud of what I'm doing. I'm proud of what I'm achieving. Proud of what I will be achieving as I ask my why every day. And I hope to do, serve even more purpose and mission later on. Yeah. And I've met a lot of amazing, not just female, but slightly more female, maybe just because the people I meet just so happens to be females. And there are some women entrepreneur events that I go to. I do think I've met a lot of really great new friends who are also building their own health journey, pivoting from what they were doing, or maybe they've always been in the space. I feel like as a circle that people do love each other. It's kind of like inter-support is stronger than other industries, at least I have personally been in.
Yeah.
I think most people do try to celebrate each other, and we get that kind of other people thinking it's woo-woo, or like we are not in finance and law. But kind of there's an inter-support. There's an inter-celebration between this space. And I personally really like that. I don't think you get it in many other industries at all.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I actually feel that within fitness specifically, that it's more competitive than celebratory. And maybe that's just my experiences, but yeah, it's interesting to hear that there's more of a camaraderie slash celebration of each other's works.
I feel that there's, at least from what I've experienced, I feel that everyone feels that there is space for all of us. And
that's not what I see on Instagram. Well,
I know, but when you speak to maybe because we're all startup founders as well, and I feel that, I didn't know that was the case. Well, I didn't know your messaging is confusing, or I didn't know. Sorry, maybe I would be like, I put up this brand ad, and someone would be like, hey, actually I'm a bit confused. I don't really know what it means, but not in a way that's criticizing. It's like, hey, maybe you can try this. I have been in this position before. You can phrase it this way, and people get it. And we kind of just help each other out because you can only experience so much on your own, and other people might have experienced certain things that you haven't. And sharing it makes both of you stronger. And yeah, I think building on that basis that we will help each other. There's that trust in there. Or maybe I'm just very lucky. But, yeah.
So what do you think then is your overarching message with your brand and your personal experiences? Like, what have you got to share?
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Like, what are you sharing that is going to make a difference?
I think I'm sharing that two things. One, there are always other options out there. Not just with drinks, everything. Don't feel like there's no options. There's only one or two. There's always three.
Yeah.
That's one. I guess diving down a little bit closer, it's like, that's why we're trying to provide a drink that is different. Trying to do more of that. And another thing, it's small steps. Build your day-to-day. Feed yourself, whether it is physically, whether it's mentally, whether it's cognitively, something. Build into your own routine. That's something that I have been doing personally, and I can't say I am now like the guru and master to share with everyone, but I've seen the massive difference in myself and feeling more comfortable in my own skin just from these day-to-day practice. You don't see immediately, but you eventually look back on your week and you'll be like, even this week feels different. Yeah.
We are winding up our time here. I want to keep talking to you because you have a very interesting story, and you have a lot. I think you've done a lot of work on yourself that I just want to soak it all up, and it's very inspiring. Yeah. We end with a lightning go-to round. So 10 easy questions. Don't think too much. Just the first thing that pops into your head. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Go to sweat. So go to, okay. Go to self-care ritual.
Doing my tracker.
Okay. Go to treat meal.
Mac and cheese.
Ooh.
I love cheese, and particularly carbs and cheese.
Okay. Do you make your own mac and cheese?
I have made my own.
Yeah.
I also go out to eat mac and cheese.
Or just like the craft box.
Yes. Yes. I have a funny story to tell you later on that one.
Oh, you can tell it now.
So I was once in the midst of developing this brand. I have those cup craft ones.
Yes.
I was thinking a lot in my head. I do this sometimes, and doing things like making my mac and cheese. I forgot to put water in it.
Oh.
And I put it in the microwave. And I started smelling that very burnt smell. And when I opened my study, because I was going to like, I'll go back to my study, do my thing, and then come back and eat my mac and cheese. I come out and it's all black smoke.
Oh.
And yeah, that was really bad. That was very, very bad. The smell stayed everyone's safe. I'm safe. The mac and cheese obviously had to go to the trash. But yeah, the smell lingered for a full week.
R.I.P. mac and cheese.
Yes.
Go-to travel destination.
I like Tokyo.
Okay. Yes, Tokyo is a good one. Go-to life motto or mantra.
I don't have to be perfect. I will show up and be present.
Love it. What is your go-to app?
Something called PDF Hero.
Oh.
It's basically an app that converts everything I read into PDF format so I can read it offline anywhere I want.
Okay. Wow. They have apps for everything.
Yes. It's very useful, I must
Yeah,
say.
it sounds useful.
Yeah.
Go-to morning or evening routine.
Every morning I wake up before I even wash my face. I do my 30 minutes news and 20 minutes journal. And then nighttime routine, skincare, scroll a little bit on email or social media or something for like 10 minutes. Breathing exercise and sleep. Yes.
A go-to book.
Love this book that I've read recently called Dose Effect by TJ Powers. It's where I got a lot of my inspiration of what to do to contribute to my dose levels that I shared earlier.
Yeah, nice. Go-to recovery practice.
Walk around anywhere, like maybe by the harbor. Another place I love walking in is grocery stores, supermarkets.
Oh, okay.
I feel it's like I'm eating everything I see.
Yeah. I guess also it's good research for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
that too.
Go to music playlist.
My music playlist is very random. It has Canto, Mandarin, English, pop, R&B.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Rap.
And then last one, what is your go-to meditation method? I threw that in there because I know that you meditate.
Honestly, I kind of just close my eyes and do breathing. I think that is something that soothes me the most.
Do you do a guided meditation or you just freestyle?
Mostly freestyle, kind of just like a quiet moment.
Okay.
One. Occasionally, I'll listen to something.
Yeah.
Like I listen to Headspace sometimes. I listen to like a Devo sometime.
What's the one that has all the celebrities reading?
Headspace.
Yeah, that one's great.
Headspace,
Although
yeah.
I kind of had to cancel that because I would just be like, I'm listening to Harry Styles.
It's so soothing though sometimes. You just like close your eyes and they're just chatting and you have no idea what they just said.
Yeah, no.
And you're like, it sounds amazing.
What's next for you?
For brand wise, more flavors for drinks that everyone's been asking. So that's something in the works.
Yeah.
I have a new product coming up
Okay.
in May.
Ooh,
Potentially
soon.
Very soon, yeah. And for myself, I want to continually work on personal growth and feel more comfortable with myself and also share these practices with people around me.
Please do keep sharing because I do think it's super important to connect.
Definitely.
Yeah. How do people find you?
It's private, but you can message me on Instagram. It's just my name, Amy Tsien. Of course, you can also message me on our brand, Instagram, evebliss.co. I'm also on LinkedIn.
Okay. Well, that's the first one. LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining me today. You have a great story. You have a great brand. And I would love to see where you take it next.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again, Abby.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on Move, Sweat, Discover. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.